Hello there, this is Sean Clark from Horror's Hallowed Grounds, and I'm joined once again by producer Scott Kroof and actor Alex Winter, picking up from where we left off from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and now on to the sequel, Bogus Journey.
Yeah, so Scott, as I recall, since my memory is so incompetent, where we last left Bill and Ted, it was 3 years prior. The film comes out by the skin of its teeth, does really well. Keanu and I do the animated show. There was an ill-fated live-action show. Bill and Ted kind of becomes a thing. And then we started hatching an idea for two. Can you, and that was fun because me and Chris Ned and Keanu started like going out to Chinese restaurants and like trying to figure out a plot.
It was really, again, like kind of pushing a rock up the hill. You know, we had talked about the idea. Creatively, it's always easy. It was, you guys got together with Chris and Ed, Bill and Ted Go to Hell, central core premise, and everyone was into it, and then it was very hard to make deals with everyone. It's just tough at the time, and it took me a long time. We finally got the deal made. Nelson was wanted to go right away. Mm-hmm. So the deal making was pretty complicated, and then we did the big search for director. And we wanted to go with someone. I think Steve was off doing something else. And we wanted to go with someone who had a new visual approach, and we saw Pete Hewitt's Candy Show, which this stuff is kind of right out of the Candy Show.
Yeah,
which won
Murray France, who did all these costumes. Yeah. It was so amazing.
It won a BAFTA award, and he was kind of an up-and-coming guy, and really loved Bill and Ted, loved the first movie, and had a lot of good ideas visually, and loved the script, had no questions about it. So, and Nelson was unbelievably supportive of making it. And then Orion was quite involved because they were distributing it, and the head of the studio at the time was Mark Platt, who was pretty instrumental in helping us get it all together and made.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because there's two camps. There's people people love both movies and just love the franchise. There are two distinct camps of people who love the first movie and don't totally get on board with the second one, and people who just think the second one blows the first one away. And they seem to be fairly equal in population. They're just radically different movies. And I remember when we first started talking about making this one, Chris and Ed were really adamant, and I thought it was really bold of them that it kind of wiped the slate clean. It didn't feel like a sequel, especially in the 80s when you got a lot of sequels that just felt like the same movie being done with just a vague spin on what had come before. And they really wanted to wipe the slate clean and tonally, conceptually come at something from a completely different angle. Keanu and I were very interested in that and not succumbing to sequelitis and making something that we may lose some fans that love the tone of one, but we were going to gain new fans and create something that would just upend expectations. And I personally, just because of my own personal sense of humor, I prefer this movie to the first one, but it's a matter of subjective taste. And the weirdness of this film is much more my own taste.
It's a shame that the one member of Faith No More you have is the one guy that's not in the band anymore.
Jim Martin, who's so great.
Yeah. And we had the one thing that was a huge benefit in making the sequel is Interscope then had Interscope Records, and as a result, we got Tom Wally and Jimmy Iovine to be our record executive producers, so we were able to access a lot more talent in terms of like getting Jim Martin to be in the movie.
Well, we shot locally too, which is really uncommon. We shot in L.A. We shot just north of L.A. and we were out of town for the other one.
Yeah, this definitely got the far superior soundtrack, in my opinion.
And Joss Ackland, who plays Denomalos, and Denomalos backwards is Ed Solomon, the name of the writer. Joss, I love this scene because Joss is this great Shakespearean actor, and George is the exact opposite. And like George having the scene where Joss is like just devouring the scenery, and George's like, "Yeah, whatever, dude."
Yeah, the king of chill.
He's like the anti-thespian, and I love Joss, and that's my background is theater, and I was just hugely respectful of him, and I'd always loved his work, and. Just for pure anecdote, and I feel bad because he's not alive anymore to defend himself. He hated Keanu and me, and he just hated us, and it was great because it was exactly right for our parts, because in terms of. We messed with him mercilessly. It's true, but he just thought we were a complete waste of talent, and it drove him crazy. But it helped. It was sort of like quick anecdote. I work in England a lot for years, and my first son would miss me, and my wife made the fatal mistake of showing him this movie when he was 3 because he missed me. And
he did that.
And then I do that, and for a full year he thought I was actually an evil robot. Like he had a complete panic attack, and we had Kevin Yeager doing all of these makeup and building all these like critters for us. It was really fun in terms of we didn't have a ton of money more, but we definitely had a little more money and a lot more time to kind of plan it out. So there was a lot more care taken in terms of getting a look, and Pete was just very strong in terms of the visual references he had. Yeah, there was an enormous amount of pre-production labor that went into set design and shot design. Which was a key factor of the budget difference. Was just this whole movie was mapped out in great detail in advance, and the boards were beautiful. The production design art was really beautiful. I love Joss in this. I mean, I just think he's absolutely fantastic, and I secretly love the fact that he hated me too.
Right,
it just worked.
Plus, we took a gigantic risk, or actually, Keanu took a gigantic risk because he changed his hair.
I know, and he really threw caution to the wind.
He did. He had just come from, what was it?
Was it Point Break?
No, My Own Private Idaho.
Oh, right. He just came down from Seattle. He'd been up in
Portland, so we didn't have proper hair growing time.
Right.
So he came up with a bold hair concept.
Yeah.
Which works, which I got a lot of guff from everyone about because they were worried that his hair was in his eyes too much, and I said, "What? We don't know what Keanu looks like, Yeah, it's all right." And it kind of gives it a flavor.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
like Bill and Ted moved on a little bit.
Well, that and also the puppy factor that you talk about. It's kind of cool, sort of like a shaggy haired dog. You can't see his face. I had a kid who lived a sort of a kind of weird surfer kid who lived across the street from me in Venice who always wore his baseball cap backwards with this giant tuft of hair stuck through the front of it, and I think I told him one day that I was going to crib his look, but that was.
And you had to work the tuft of hair in front.
That's right. Yes,
complicated.
I can't say I put a lot of energy into it, but it was fun. If you look at our guitars, or mine in particular, which is a Gibson SG, which I specifically asked for because that's what Angus Young from AC/DC plays, who is my rock idol. But all of that artwork that was on it and on my hat was done by a graffiti artist named Slick, who is one of the greatest graffiti artists in LA's history. And he did a lot of the art, actually, in the movie.
Yeah, he did a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, the Wild Stallions logo, all that stuff is all Slick.
Oh, Pam Grier, she's awesome.
Yeah. Again, this was the fun of casting this, I think, a lot was to go and reach for interesting people who you've loved in other things, let them go and do something else, or get musicians to come in. We had a lot of fun. We have some very cool musicians in this. Sir James Martin, we've already seen. And Pam Grier is just too awesome.
Yeah, she was great. We had a really good cast. And again, this was the Santa Monica. We shot this at the Santa
Monica Civic.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we moved around a lot with our auditoriums. You know,
The
or
interiors were Sony Pictures? Was that at the Sony
we
lot?
shot at the Magic Mountain.
Oh, that's where this was, I think.
Yeah, this was at Magic Mountain on the stage there.
Right.
We shot the exterior at Santa Monica Civic.
Right.
And then when we reshot the ending, we built
that set.
the front of this set
That's
and just
right.
extended it. And
It's Sony.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like-
Santa Monica Civic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember shooting this scene. And watch this shot of Pete's. It's genius. Watch what happens. And I'll explain how he did it, which it'll probably be fairly obvious. But I remember him showing me how he's going to do this. I was super impressed. I'm a huge Orson Welles fan, and this is like a shot out of Touch of Evil. He had a van built, the van built with a hinged ceiling. So he had, I think it was I don't know if they had techno cranes back then, but he had a kaleidoscopic crane that comes down, pulls back, and then the lid of the van comes down to make room for the crane arm. And then the door closes. And
he built all of these. He loved this, what is it, Powell and Pressburg?
Yeah, he was a huge fan
Stairway
of
to
Powell
Heaven was a big reference for this.
Matter of Life and Death and all of those films.
Yeah.
So
it was Matter of Life and Death.
Yeah,
That's
that has
not
the
the Stairway to Heaven thing.
That has an actual Stairway to Heaven in it. Yeah.
So do either of you recall why the princesses were recast?
No, it's really actually interesting. It came up again when we started batting around another one, and I remember Keanu and I were hanging out, and it was. I think there's a lot of weirdness around. Like A, nobody knows why they were recast, and B, I think they switch names. Like there's something else that's weird. Like, did they switch? Is one of was the
Joanna and Elizabeth?
Yeah,
right.
I think that Elizabeth was the redhead in the first one, and Joanna was. I think Kimberly was Johanna. I think the whole thing was like kind of like an oversight mess on the part of who had taken over and just wasn't close enough in proximity to what had come before.
Yeah,
but it was it was odd. One of those odd things that we nobody knows what happened exactly, but it was all kind of sloppy and weird.
But we still have, of course, Missy.
We
and
do.
Hal.
Yeah,
and now
Pat
they're
as
together.
My dad.
Hi guys.
My dad, drunk in a corner in misery.
Can't believe Missy divorced your dad. Married mine.
So we shot most of this movie as opposed to the last one, which was almost all on locations, including there's Pat, all on locations even in Italy. This is all stage set.
Yeah, this is the exterior of this is where Transparent is shot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
But this is all on stage in Santa Clarita.
Yeah.
Probably noticed we haven't
Yeah. So we.
And that's the West Hollywood Transparent set.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I know that building.
It's a classic building.
Yeah,
hard
it's
to
really
resist.
beautiful.
And Pete always had an eye for kind of vintage Southern California.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. It was a very different movie in almost every way. Even in terms of who we are as characters, it was very different. We were asking the audience to take a bit of a leap, and we didn't exactly know how they were going to respond. But we felt that, enough time had gone by between the two movies that it felt important to us to make the characters different. And this movie's more about two very childlike guys trying to make their way in an adult world, and the other one is really just about we're really kind of clowns at school, essentially.
But it still has the kind of language thing of
It's Chris and Ed
they're
doing
all
their thing.
they're picking up each other's thoughts. They're still one guy, but it's one guy who's a little different than he was.
Well, it's
in
more
the first one.
it's a little darker just because we were trying to find our way in the world and not really doing very well
Right.
at it, and so it's more has a more goofy existential thing going on, but.
Yeah, it definitely has this metaphysical twist, which
Yeah.
I think makes it. I think that's part of what makes the whole franchise kind of fun is that it isn't exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there was so much for us to play in this because we were playing the villains as well, which was really
Right.
It was just incredibly fun.
Amongst other parts.
Yeah, amongst other snuck in roles.
It's funny how much the brunette looks like Diane Franklin.
I
too.
know.
I always thought she looked like Keanu, which was
right, exactly. Suddenly,
and Sarah kind of looks like me.
Annette, yeah.
Yeah. And they're great. They're both really great. And Sarah's lovely. It was really fun to do this with her. We just couldn't quite remember why it had been recast. This was fun. This scene was really fun to do.
So this time you guys are playing with a lot bigger budget, right?
Right. Well,
I wouldn't say not dramatically, but significantly, but not dramatically.
from a micro budget, it was like twice as much, but by the standards of the day, kind of not even a mid-range budget. It's still a little on the low budget side. However, we definitely had slicker visual effects. We had Richard Yursich was our visual effects supervisor who worked on 2001 and Close Encounters, so that's all a lot tighter. And you'll notice that the phone booth has a new antenna.
Yep.
Thanks to Pete.
Yep. It was the little things. But these guys were they were just super fun to play.
Well, and it just had such weird little visual gimmicks like this eyeball, which I'm going to say Pete Hewitt probably has that eyeball because he loves
I had the
props.
head from the end as a doorstop for years, my head. Evil robot prosthetic head.
And this was, you'll notice the fluorescent paint is that when this wildfire like Dayglow paint that you could actually use on movie sets. We kind of went for that.
Yeah,
which was fun.
Well, I just love what Marie did. I mean, look at Joss's outfit with the built-in lit from underneath villain light.
Right.
It's just so great. It's
when
so
the angles,
weird.
yeah, all the angles and detail.
Nomelos.
There's this very big, chunky. I remember I have a picture. I think Pete and I got to try on those super great boots that are so gigantic.
Yeah, the big moon boots.
But it's funny, of course, that Bill and Ted still have a very chaste relationship with the princesses.
Completely, yeah. I mean, we do not understand the adult world at all. It's not, it was really fun to play from the level. It was just, it took a little bit of thought of how to still give them joy and that exuberance, given that our lives were complete and utter disaster at this point.
Hey, Joanna.
It was fun to do.
How'd you call us so fast?
It's not important.
This scene was great, given the technology, the sort of CG revolution was slowly happening around this time in the early 90s. And so we did a lot of very, very sophisticated split screen work in this for the era in terms of moving split screen lines, which we did for all of the stuff with the double S's, which is about to happen. But it was just such a marked difference from where we had been just a few years earlier. It was just stuff we couldn't do with. But
it is tough for some fans to see Bill and Ted actually be mean, and it's funny because you guys are so comically mean, but
we're incompetently mean. That's what we made sure of. I mean, we don't do anything right. We're just complete imbeciles. We do it with attitude as opposed to Bill and Ted, who are the opposite as far as their attitude. But.
Little 3D. Homage there.
Yeah.
So was this a real Circle K?
It was.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Out in the San Gabriel Valley. Hard to find a Circle K.
Now, this was fun for Star Trek fans because we got to shoot it at Vasquez Rocks, where this episode, with anyone who's my age, would have this entire episode burned into their retina. But it was was that a Pete idea?
Yeah,
it seems like
yeah.
It. Yeah,
no, he was very obsessed with the idea of doing that. Then he wanted to try to match shots.
Yeah, he did. Well, he totally matches shots. Our subsequent sequence happens there,
but it has that wonderful twist and introduction of an unexpected character.
Yeah,
and then Pete comes up with a really brilliant idea to deal with dead Bill and Ted.
Yeah, that was fun.
To not make it too expensive.
Yeah, and it was like fun harkening back to silent movies. But yeah, this is the shot he replicates later. But look how despondent
but it's
we are.
like they're sad Bill and Ted.
Yeah, it's just such a different.
Like Keanu really looks like he might cry.
There isn't a single scene in one where we're ever this despondent. So I think it might have been this scene where we lost the people who don't like this movie. It's a big bummer.
Yeah.
But here's what I mean about moving split screens. Like where there's a few of these, and this particular there's I think a shot coming up. I don't want to get too technical with people, but where there's a dolly shot that comes off of our over the shoulder as we come in, that moves the split screen. It's really very very cool. And for 91 or whatever it was we shot this was kind of unheard of.
Right.
We had a really good time
Yeah.
doing this.
It was a little challenging, though.
Yeah.
Dude. I got a weird feeling here.
Did you guys have any influence in the decoration of the apartment?
How do we know this guy?
I mean, we came in. What we would do is no, in short, but we would come in and then kind of make it our own, tweak it around a little bit. But we weren't, we weren't micromanaging the vibe. They had the vibe down really well. And,
Yeah, Dave Snyder, who was the production designer, was doing a great job.
Yeah.
And there was just a lot of concept art and storyboard art. So, and desire by everyone because they loved the movies so much to kind of bury little Easter eggs all over the set and make it fun to be on.
Yeah. There is a lot of detail in this film on multiple viewing that you can catch. That got built into everything from the production design, just little in jokes that we did. But there's another moving split screen, and then there's our doubles. Yeah, so there are actors behind us, obviously that are not us. That you get it. There's the moving split screen. You could have seen the fake Keanu gets replaced by the real Keanu, which you can see if you watch that shot. But it was those guys had a good time learning body movements and mimicking us.
Feels like this film has a lot more product placement than.
Yeah, I don't know how intentional it was. I mean, this is before that really. I don't think anyone was giving us tons of money to put Lay's and Doritos in there.
It wasn't,
Pepsi,
but there was a licensing company that was involved and did a lot more with making cereal and products and all of that. The putting the stuff in was just kind of standard art department stuff. It wasn't like we had tie-ins with like Bill and Ted branding.
Yeah.
'Cause it still wasn't.
It was just go to the store and get some potato chips. It was more like that.
Yeah. Or like who would give us the most free potato chips.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of potato chip eating.
I remember I so desperately wanted Highway to Hell for this scene, and we couldn't get it. We couldn't afford it in the end.
Right. Because some, and we had really very good people at convincing people to be part of the party.
Yeah.
With Jimmy and Tom.
Now, when they added the van into the sequel, was that a little bit of takeoff? Like originally, they had a van.
It is
It is.
indeed.
It is, exactly. I think the idea was we're a band, we should have a van. All bands have vans. And I think everyone felt we'd had enough distance from Back to the Future by now. We'd established ourselves as a franchise.
Well, and it is not the time travel vehicle.
Exactly, yeah.
So
It is, at the end of the day, only a van.
It is. Exactly. But it was fun to make, and it is suitably beat up.
Yeah.
There is a good continuity of dirt.
They were really fun to play. The robots were super fun.
Check it out.
So this is Vasquez Rocks, where they shot the Star Trek that we saw earlier. A ton of stuff has been shot out here
Yeah.
over the years. How did I don't recall. I remember the testing really well on Bill and Ted 1 because I went to a bunch of them. How did this test in terms of the evil S's and things like that? Do you remember?
It tested not as well, largely because we didn't quite have the ending the way we ended up with it, and that made a big difference. People liked the kind of new invention of it all.
Yeah.
But I don't really recall that we trimmed any of the darkness of it out. I think it was all around making the payoff of the ending feel more satisfying.
Right.
And answering the one burning question is, will they ever get any good?
Right. Right. Yeah, I could imagine that it would have been tricky for people to swallow, given what Bill and Ted means in terms of just being super sweet.
This is such a classy moment.
Yeah, my kids love this. They love anything with spit in it. Sad to say.
Yes! I totally Logan
Yeah.
that good dead me! Yeah! Fully, full on evil robot. Yeah!
Also, we had a much more elaborate mixing situation. We had Mike Minkler, who did the mix, and I think it was really made a big difference. And Pete was very detail oriented, wanted to kind of tweak the kind of comic bookiness of
Right.
it.
Mm-hmm.
So it really was a kind of a pretty significant stylistic change, just in terms of the filmmaking.
Yeah, it really was. It had a whole different vibe. And yeah, I agree. I love what he did with and I love the edits in this sequence are really beautiful. I always love this cut. The introduction to death cuts are really great.
Now, do you recall the casting of Death and how Bill got involved?
Yeah, I mean, Scott can get into the
He
casting.
killed the audition. He did the Bergman thing, and it was just like, got to go there, got to have him.
Yeah, I remember you telling me. I mean, I knew who Sadler was. He had done Shawshank before this, right?
Yeah.
I'd seen him in other stuff as well, but I remember vividly you telling me how excited you were about the Death audition.
It
You just
just-
couldn't believe how great it was.
We just laughed our butts off. And
This is the edit. I love this sequence of edits here.
right. Well, and the whole black and white, Bill and Ted, it just is such a great solution because it would have been really hard at the time technically
Yeah.
to deliver a black and white Bill and Ted. It would have been every shot.
Oh
visual
yeah,
effect.
yeah. Yeah, but just taking everything monochromatic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The Grim Reaper, dude.
yeah. Though I do recall that again, given that this was 1991 and sort of in the scope of how fast everything's changed, it was ancient history. Our makeup was like you couldn't breathe, and that white, it was like white plaster on your face.
Yeah, they were very heavily. And then
Especially Billy. Billy was just completely.
well, he
buried
had a
in-
whole he's got this rubber head thing.
Yeah.
And he used to have like this, like he would have like a little waterfall of sweat
Yeah, he
coming
was super
down
hot.
his spine.
Yeah,
And he's like such an uncomplaining person.
yeah, yeah.
So he was wearing a bald cap.
He
Oh,
was
well,
wearing
more
a
than that,
bald
he had like
cap.
almost like
He
the
had a little prosthesis on
Exactly.
his forehead.
yeah. His whole head is kind of wrapped in makeup.
And it was hot. It was the summer.
Yeah, I mean his eyes are literally cut out. That's why it's a whole piece, and he was unrelentingly hot. But we had an enormous amount of fun working with him. It was really really fun.
Excuse us, dude.
And there was a little bit more ad-libbing on this movie than there was on Bill and Ted. I mean, we were a little older, a bit more seasoned, and I think Chris and Ed trusted us a bit more. We understood their language better. But Billy and Keanu and I did more riffing off of the page than we did with anything in the first one.
Let's just hope he doesn't catch up with us.
But this film was physically a lot more taxing than one, and one was it was just enormously taxing because we were playing evil versions of it. So we were always on screen, and the level of physicality that we had to do was pretty extreme. It
And
was
again,
really fun.
this is kind of the great Pete shot where
Yeah.
he would like think of a weird way to open a scene, very unconventional.
So that's the building in Trans?
It is.
Oh, okay. I know that building from West Hollywood. It's a cool building.
This is
Again, him and his kaleidoscopic crane
Yeah.
shots.
This isn't funny.
Yeah, I got some fan hate mail for playing Evil Bill.
What's come over you?
yeah.
They were mad that we were so mean.
Used to be pussweeds, but now we're metal. So get over here and put out.
Well, they're just so nasty.
It's just so stupid.
Forget about us playing tonight.
Fine.
Oh, jeez.
Marcus?
But it was just, it was kind of an all or nothing thing. It was if we're going to do it, if we're going to really not have a sequel that feels like the original, we have to shove it as far the other direction as we possibly
Well,
can.
and they're exuberantly evil.
No, and idiotically evil.
Right.
We're not cunning.
And Bill and Ted, the heart of Bill and Ted are still very Bill and Ted innocent. That was a favorite shot of Pete wanted to do that, which
Yeah,
came
we
out.
did. We did quite a bit we did a lot more blue screen work on this thing too. But this is all sets. This is back up at the Santa Clarita stages, and
Let's waste.
it was much more,
In the meantime,
especially for the type of shots that Pete was doing with a lot of moving walls and long tracking crane shots and things that required more sophisticated set pieces to move stuff around.
we have got to stop him.
Did you work with Chris and Ed at all on the sequel or ideas?
Yeah,
on-
yeah,
They-
without a doubt. We had a bunch of story sessions. We had a lot more involvement, Keanu and I, on this one. And I mean, they had the concept, Bill and Ted Go to Hell, all that stuff. They built it for sure. And we were very much more just throwing ideas and consulting about ideas. And I mean, these movies are theirs as far as the scripts are concerned, as they should be. They're really talented. But we had a lot more input. And this film is, like I said, is much more my sense of humor tonally, which isn't an accident. I mean, it was just able to.
Well, and just filled with kind of challenging stuff for you guys to do. as
Yeah,
actors.
yeah. Sort of, and just trying to make sure we didn't repeat where we'd been in number one. That we really were pushing the guys just keeping it physical, keeping them best friends, keeping it sincere, but just pushing them in a further direction. I love what Hal does here. But as I said, he kind of does this in one as well. I noticed when I was acting with him in one that he was sort of doing Keanu's take on Ted as the dad in subtle ways. And he's good at it.
Yeah. Well, he comes from the stage acting.
Yeah.
South Coast rap.
Yeah.
So.
You totally did it, dude. I totally possessed my dad.
Yeah, there you go, which is just.
Yeah.
And then all the air guitars in this are done by Stevie Vai.
Yeah, Steve Vai came in and did all which was really, really fantastic. He also does a couple of the music tracks on the soundtrack. And
Right.
He's on.
Well, he does the end credit, the whole guitar
The
riff.
death rap one too.
The
or
death rap.
Reaper rap.
Yeah.
That was that was like getting the sequel made again to get that all, because we didn't know we were going to do it, and then it was constructed. So we had to get everyone to clear.
Yeah. And he's so great. He was in Total Recall. Do you remember him from Total Recall, Sean?
Yeah.
He's so great. I was so happy. Such a Total Recall Verhoeven fan.
So it does have the still incredible ludicrousness.
I don't think they believe us.
Yeah, I love the whole subplot in this one. Works really well. With these guys, and also just with Evil Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
Well, and it does have much more of a cutaway plot than because it's the first one. You're so with Bill and Ted, so create a kind of a different experience for the audience.
Yeah.
Good morning, Sergeant.
Yeah, which was good because it was pretty aggressive. Gave us a chance to breathe. Here's Chris and Ed again. Here's their cameo. There's Ed, now without the long hair,
Incredible
without the Kenny
hair
G hair.
transformation.
And there's Chris is coming up here on the right. There he is. I love his expression so much in this scene. It's just genius.
And once again, credited as ugly and stupid seance member.
But Chris never stops that stupid smile. He never loses that smile. I love it so much. Always
That
makes me laugh.
group is all friends of theirs from UCLA, actors, various actors.
Bobble, wobble.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of aping silly 90s trends in this.
Leave your celestial abode and speak upon us.
Yeah, Amy's so great. Look at him.
Yeah,
Look at that
look at him
smile.
now.
And the ridiculous Neru collar he's
I know.
got on. Ed actually looks like he's really meditating. I think he may have actually gone somewhere here.
I feel the spirits have arrived. Spirits, can you hear me?
your mom, dude. Whoa, you're right. Move over, dude.
Spirits.
So how did you feel about all the products that started coming out, from cereal to action figures to trading cards?
It was
video
surreal.
games?
It was very surreal. I mean, you know, the sort of franchisiness of it that started to happen with 2. You know, it happened little ways with 1 because we had done the animated show and stuff. But once something becomes sort of looked at as a franchise, it changes the tenor of things. It was very surreal.
It was also way ahead of its time in terms of doing that. Mm-hmm. So in a way, I think that made it feel a little rougher to people.
But it was weird to like walk into a Ralph's and see my face on a cereal box. You end up with kind of a disconnect in a way. Like you just don't you separate yourself from it. It's just. I was off directing and had a whole other life by then, so it felt like it was somebody else, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and Keanu had at that point was doing a really broad range.
Yeah, and mostly dramatic, and heading into action movie land,
but really doing he had just finished My Own Private Idaho.
Yeah, this is my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah.
This is really, really great, and it read great. I remember reading this on the script and just thinking, this is a classic idea for a scene. Was this if this wasn't our trailer? I thought I remember suggesting that this would be our trailer.
Yeah.
Literally, the trailer would just be this. And I remember we had talking about product placement. We had many conversations with Pepsi about doing a Mountain Dew campaign. And I remember meeting with the Pepsi ad guys and telling that this would just be the ad. It would just be us falling.
Exactly. And
then eventually hand each other a Mountain Dew or whatever. But I love this scene. This is no self credit because we did not write this, but this scene gets stolen all the time in other movies and TV shows. But this is absolutely begins with Chris and Ed.
Okay, I got one. Are you a mineral?
I love this.
Yeah. Are you a tank?
I love that so much. Are you a mineral? Are you a tank? Yeah.
I think there was a little of this fell on the cutting room floor.
Oh, yeah. There was a ton of stuff. I mean, now we're getting into, the subplot that went away here was that we meet all of the fears here, and then they all come back and help us beat the bad guys at the end, and that just fell completely off the truck. We shot some of it, but there was a huge car chase sequence with the Easter Bunny and Oates and Granny, and it was the whole setup and payoff that fell off the truck when we reshot it.
Well, we also had in this, I believe we had a character from Hell be burned. It was Robert Port.
Right.
That's right. Executive producer on this.
Was that too scary for kids, or?
It just, it was a little too. And the other thing that was strange is that Bill and Ted had found such a young audience as opposed to the teenage audience. It really played kind of more widely to a young audience.
Right.
So some of the stuff that was a little too scary was hurting the young people who really liked the movie.
Right. This set was really beautiful.
It's a great kind of combination of a set and miniature.
Yeah, but they built this whole head. I remember climbing around on it, and it was really... That's miniature. Those were animatronic or like whatever.
That was a miniature, that shot.
But with fake us's. It was, yeah.
But that's
it looks like something out of Ray Harryhausen.
That's real, you guys, with set extensions.
Yeah. Yeah, the sets were really, really spectacular. And the set designs, I remember being in Pete's office, and they're so spectacular.
Do you think that the fact that the cartoon had come out and it drew in a younger audience,
I think so,
kind of hurt this film just a little bit because of that, by bringing a not as mature audience?
I don't know if it hurt it. I just think that the demo, the tone of one is much more gentle and childlike. And it's really, one is really about, this is the way Keanu and I came at playing the characters, was we played them like they were 9 years old, pretty much, like 9 or 10-year-old kids. And this one, we're not playing them that way. We're playing them as sort of failed young adults, basically. And I just don't think that clicks with as young a demo. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's as identifiable.
This is all my favorite stuff in the movie.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
This
Pete,
is all a set.
Pete designed this incredibly innovative, like the way they did that tracking shot. Basically, the set was all tracking, like built-in tracking mechanisms, like shooting on a submarine. So they had this sort of.
So we had a track built into the set.
Yeah, they basically had a dolly that was built into the set that could move very quickly down these corridors, and it was really fun to work on. Very ingenious. You can see the rails at the base there, and
all of the interactivity with the set. This is all great because this is actually
Forced
a forced perspective, and it goes into a painting at the end, like an actual scenic painting.
Who's that?
And again, he had much more of this comic book style. So, like the pools of light are painted on the floor to kind of highlight them.
What? No way, sir. You too.
This is some great Bill and Ted language, too.
Tell you to do from now on.
What was this actor's name?
Is that
Chelsea Ross?
He's great.
Yeah.
Sir, dude.
yeah, he's been in a ton of stuff.
Yes, dude, sir. What?
All of these sequences that were,
Sir,
once we go to hell and heaven, and were really, really gorgeous sets.
Give me infinity.
That were, I mean, sort of like you said, Scott. They were either had paintings at the back or set extensions. They were very carefully designed because it's not a gigantic movie. It's a medium-sized movie,
Right, and
with very outsized ambitions in terms of
Yeah.
its production design.
Bugger Billies?
Bugger Billies.
Yeah.
That's- You don't hear that every day.
Comes from the
Really
But
wanted
again,
to throw it out.
the surreal shots like that, the kind of expressionistic stuff.
dude. What? I think we're in our own personal hell. Let's
Yeah, this was the
That way it can't get us so bad.
this was the most fun thing I had to do.
This was, yeah. This also is extremely cool.
Yeah, and Brandon, I think it's Brandon.
Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon. We brought him onto this. He was in the Idiot Box, the show that Tom and I had on MTV.
Uh-huh.
He's in the Eddie the Flying Gimp sequence with John Hawkes, and we brought him in to do this. He's really great.
It's the kid that breaks his legs, right?
He's the kid
Right.
that breaks his legs
Yeah.
in Eddie the Flying Gimp. Yeah, and then here I am playing my grandmother,
Yeah.
which is
This kid
he was great.
also was.
Yeah. Yeah, he was great. He was actually kind of scared by me, though. I felt bad
Yeah.
for him.
Well,
in the shot where
makeup
they're
was
in this shot-
extremely terrifying.
yeah, when
And
they're
the
pushing him towards me, and I'm like at the edge of the table. I thought he was going to burst into tears.
When-
But he used just to get technical again. Pete used a lens that wouldn't actually like if you see what it's doing as it comes up to me. It doesn't. It's a wide angle that doesn't distort as it moves. Really sophisticated shot. That shot. Beautiful. But I love playing myself. I love being in pounds and pounds of makeup. I must be a
Right.
masochist.
It frees you.
Yeah. Though after Freaked, I think I was done. It was a cathartic experience that I was able to complete.
But this stuff
Beautiful.
was a little scary for kids.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is hardcore. This is Cabinet of Dr. Caligari stuff. It's
How long was that process?
Kevin will probably deny it, but it was about a half a day to get into.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was 5 hours.
5 or 6 hours, yeah. The Corso on Freaked, with the half face stuff, was able to start to get it down, but that wasn't dissimilar. It was a lot of time in the chair.
We had a great AD who could always, Barry Thomas.
Barry was
who could
fabulous, yeah.
Always, he had done a bunch of Walter Hill movies, and he could always predict exactly how long it would take.
Yeah.
I believe he called the makeup exactly right on this day. We were shooting the Easter Bunny while you were being made up.
Right.
The Easter Bunny was all animatronic, right? Was
Yeah,
that, like,
yeah,
like
it's a puppet.
pretty much the way Kevin did Chucky for Child's Play.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
kind of like Chucky
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
I always thought his face was
not
kind
the
of similar.
scale was not that big. This is really fun.
Yeah, I remember
shot.
shooting this. It hurt. It was fun, but it hurt.
No, well, we definitely, with all of the playing a double role, it gave us twice as much opportunity to kind of beat Alex and Keanu up.
Yeah, it was very physical.
And they hit hard.
Yeah, we got thrown around a lot. But it was really fun. I mean, we really loved the set. The set was really fun to be
Love
in.
the set, and we like the characters that got built.
Yeah. Just the stakes that Bill and Ted get put into are so high. Much higher than anything
There
that happens.
you go.
Yeah. My poor grandma B. I mean, this is based on my own grandma, so I feel bad because she's not around anymore, but had to come from somewhere. She was awesome, but scary too. Here we go.
And all of those transitions were like kind of... We had done wipes in the first movie that were kind of easy and not that expensive. These are all conceived by Pete to be kind of take you from one place to another without...
Yeah, seamlessly.
Yeah.
And I love the shot, the really high shot that he did. I'm not sure that made in the movie. He had a super high shot of us talking to him. I think it didn't make it. It was really beautiful. That's the best cut in the film, though. That's really spectacular. This set is spectacular.
This is the scene that, for the audience, was like people went insane for this scene.
Miss.
Yeah, it was very...
It's all...
It's such an amazing set. And Billy just kills this.
Well, yeah, if you can't quite see it, but the flames in the fireplace are carved out of stone.
Yeah.
Was this a set specifically built or pre-existing?
No. This was all designed for the movie.
Everything was specifically built.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was really a fun, it was a given that it wasn't a gigantic budget, it was a very impressive, we had 4 of the stages up there.
Yeah, we had
massive sets built on each one, and so you would just go from set to set, and it was like this set, the hell set, our apartment set, the heaven set. It was pretty spectacular. The amount of craftsmanship that went into these.
Yeah, the DP also was Oliver Wood, and so we got Tim Surstad's a great comedy, lighting, framing guy, but Oliver was able to figure out all of these transitions, great crane shots. He's done a ton of action movies.
Oh, you could see Bill's lav mic. I just noticed. I love looking at dumb stuff like that. Yeah, Hollywood was really great.
Yeah.
And a completely different style, and tone that just fit.
But also, both those guys, both Tim and Ollie, were like really got the comedy, brought real strong ideas, dynamic action kind of style shots, and they loved the transitions.
Yeah, it's true. It's so different. The tones are so different.
Sorry, Death. You lose. It was Professor Plum.
I said Plum.
No way. You said mustard.
This is one of those scenes when you're acting where you're having a great time, but from like a competitive level, you're just being smoked by the guy opposite. You're just like Billy is just obliterating
this is a
you.
wonderful shot.
Yeah, I love that shot. It's so great.
Best of 7.
Damn right.
This is the kind of stuff you come up with as a writer and just go as far as you can take it, and just genius. This is the Twister.
Yeah. Chris and Ned have such a playful way of working together in terms of the having had so much history. There's still such a playful attitude towards everything in these movies.
Bill's pretty flexible.
Yeah. Yeah, and smell. He was under. I mean, again, it was like the smell was real. He was under such a vast cloak and makeup. And He was always just stinky and sweaty.
No, yeah, and that cloak was heavy.
Yeah,
and it had the tapered sleeves.
Must be all that naked Tai Chi he was doing.
That's right.
Die Hard too.
Right.
Yeah.
This is his penance.
Steve Vai again.
You played very well, Dad.
I also, David Newman did the music and was great because he's both gets kind of the comedy, but also gave it a very big movie score. Even though it has a lot of pop music in it, it also has kind of big movie music.
How are we gonna fight those other Usses?
Yeah, the scope of this all the way around was an attempt to make it
Yeah, plus they already
feel bigger where we couldn't afford to actually make it bigger. But
1 minute, Duder.
did a really good job with that.
Okay. If we were good human Usses, but we had to fight 2 evil robot
The
Usses.
shot compositions are all really beautiful.
All right,
Good robot
and the
Usses.
lighting too.
Yeah.
Ted, good
And
thinking,
your
Ted.
tuft is really.
Yeah, I know. Well, it became it had a life of its own.
Look at it right there.
I know.
I know. So ludicrous.
Beaten me. I'm at your
I wonder if that guy in Venice ever saw this movie and realized that I had
I hope he did.
stolen his vibe.
That hat, though, would be a pretty nice collector's item.
Yeah. Yeah, it was slick. Getting painted that.
Hopefully you helped him get laid or something.
I
you know?
hope so.
Love this shot.
Here's the heaven set. Funny story here is my face in any of the scenes in this. My face is just caked with makeup. I look like I'm bronze. And I'd had a party at my house the weekend before we shot this, and my cat had gotten into a fight with a dog, and I went to get it off a fence, and it had just clawed like a hole across my face. So they literally had to sort of lacquer the scar off of my face. This is all set extensions. This is all based on the Pressburger Powell stuff. All a matter of life and death. And Tom Stern, my old directing partner, who did Freaked with me, has a cameo here.
Welcome to heaven.
See where he shows up.
Hello. Thank you. You're welcome.
I remember this day because this shot, we had, I think, about 8 shots we were going to get, and then we get this shot.
Right. There's Tom right there with the trench coat. That's funny.
Yeah.
Lockjaw for idiot box fans. Yeah, but the heaven sets were really, really, really fun. Really
Right.
beautiful, really epic Hollywood-looking sets. They were really fun.
Well, and this, yeah, the glamour girl with the hat.
Yeah. Just such a nod to another era. I love that. I don't remember how Reeves ended up in the hee-haw looking thing.
Yeah.
It's so great. It's so unlike him, too. Like, it's
Yeah.
just not
Come on, Dad.
unbelievably incongruous. But, but again, there's, not to over egg the cherry, but it's just, there's so much detail, attention spent on the color in this movie. When things are monochromatic, when they are, what color are they, why are they that color? It's just stuff that Pete put so much attention into that detail. He and Marie France, I remember him tying that into the art direction. But I mean, all of this, everything here being monochromatic, with a hint of lavender, as opposed to the death stuff that we do, where it's all black and white. There's Taj Mahal, for the blues fans, who's no longer with us, but again was so great to work with him. I had seen him live many times.
Yeah, me too.
Was that you're doing?
It was.
Yeah, you're good with the really cool, somewhat obscure but very cool cameo
I spent a lot of
ideas.
time at concerts in my youth.
Because it's such a great. It's just not. They weren't the type of cameos that you would often get in Hollywood movies, where they would be more.
But they all had kind of great stage presence.
Oh, he's fantastic. He's so regal,
Just
like Clarence.
And he was so great in the movie Sounder.
Oh yeah. I forgot he was in. I
He was
totally
a
forgot he was
killer
in Sounder.
that movie.
I just cried and cried when I saw that.
Man, he looks good in that.
Yeah.
Every rose has a thorn.
Yeah. Billy doesn't have a bad moment in this.
No.
thing. Was there ever any point after this one where something was considered that would have included him in some other something?
Like a spin-off?
Yeah, a spin-off
No.
or some kind of sequel that was focused around
No,
such a successful addition to the partnership.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the whole idea that this built a whole another level, the metaphysical level on the Bill and Ted world was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately,
That's
I mean,
the matter of life and death.
yeah, one of the things that was really tough about this movie is we had a firm release date in the summer.
Right.
And as a result, we had 12 weeks of post on a movie that we should have probably had at least 24.
Right.
And then we did a big reshoot.
Right.
It was, I think it took it out of people a lot.
Right.
Together we are wild stallions.
Yeah, I love that we actually got to talk to God. It's the ludicrousness of it. And at the other thing I don't remember is at what point did Bill and Ted Go to Hell, which was our title, get turned into Bill and Ted Bogus Journey? Was it after we shot?
After we shot the movie, because if you recall, the wrap gift on it was a black bathrobe with a hood that said Bill and Ted Go to Hell.
Yeah, I wish I still had that.
I do. I still have mine. Yeah, it was kind of the whole thing that the movie had the wider appeal.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things got scrutiny from the marketing people and the marketing was done by Orion. They did a good job.
Yeah.
But they definitely tried to kind of soft sell it a little bit.
Right. Right. And they were just afraid, in terms of the demographic, that it would.
Yeah, that it would alienate a big part of the audience.
Right.
And the movie, unlike a lot of sequels, did exactly what the first movie did. Actually, I believe it did a little better. But people thought it was going to do
like crazy business.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people rated that it was a little too dark, and it probably would have done bigger business had it not been. I like it the way it is.
Yeah, me too. I'm so glad we made it. It's. I would argue that it's another happy accident that, for whatever reason, we got to do this. We got to do it the way we wanted to do it, and I'm so glad it exists. It's so weird and fun and nice mix of everybody's sensibilities. I feel like such a personal connection to this one.
Death having a word with God.
Oh yeah, this was the head that I had in my house for years until it finally deteriorated to the point where I had to put it out with the trash.
We had all these. It was fun because all of this stuff is really a challenge to think of how you take your head off and slam dunk it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was my doorstop for many years in my office. You can see the fake floor bouncing up and down here. So. Thinking about that, I recently saw the Eli Roth movie that Keanu did, which was so awesome and bananas. And it's a shot with him at the end where he's not spoiling anything, where he's buried up to his head.
Knock knock.
You can see.
Yeah, it's almost identical to this shot, right down to the seeing the floor move. It's still impossible to do 25 years later. Now, for that shot, I actually had to have my head removed and put in a canister.
Yeah, which is, look at how much he enjoys that.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
Yeah. Joss hates us so much. Look at his face. There's no acting going on. There's, I hate you. I hate both of you.
Right. Well, he was also at this point, I believe he was playing to you guys saying the lines off camera, not a pre-record.
So you got the Die Hard 2 villain and the Lethal Weapon 2 villain.
Yeah, exactly.
We tried to, get all the twos that we could get.
Yeah.
Well, looks like this is the place, dude. Now all we gotta do is
There's
find
that
this-
wildfire UV paint in action again. We looked at doing that from Freaked, I remember, for the Zygrot. It was, I think we ended up doing it as a post effect, but it was very cool.
Well, that's because you could do it as a post effect. This is like all this stuff was just kind of a workaround.
Yeah.
The boxer.
Yeah.
Right.
the Einstein here is like some kind of weird, looks like some kind of weird Catskills comedian.
Right.
So here's Arturo. I think Arturo's one. I mean, it was Tony.
It was Ed Gale, Arturo Gill, and Tony Cox.
Yeah, and Tony of Bad Santa fame, and Ed Gale, of course.
These were not air-conditioned suits.
No.
Which was something that...
Yeah, it was really tough. I went through this on Freaked a year later, and it was really... I felt so bad for people, and they just did not have any way of ventilating suits back then. And people would pass out. We had somebody drop, like, totally conk out on Freaked. Arturo, one of the stations, was in Freaked. He was one of the eyeballs in that. He's just great. He was a trooper. Tony was great. I injured him on this movie, though. I felt really bad. But I'll get to that when we do it.
Yeah.
Ed Gale, he played Chucky in the original Child's Play. Oh, he was also Howard the Duck.
Right, that's right. That's where that's the thing that I
And they were great. I remember actually.
Oh, so great. Yeah. Yeah, Arturo is really great. I saw him not too long ago. He works all the time. But yeah, look at my face. Is what I say. My face is like caked with brown makeup because I have a massive scratch. Look like von Stroheim going straight down my face.
It's funny. I always wondered what was going on with your face in the scene. Seriously,
it's super weird.
Yeah,
it's just like someone painted my face with a paintbrush. Yeah, they had the stations, for their faces to move. They were filled with motors and servo mechanisms, moving eyes, moving noses, moving mouths, and they had, whenever you have this, you have like a battery of guys with remote control units standing right behind the camera that are operating all that stuff.
They're doing all the walking and stuff, but the entire facial performance.
Yeah, is enhanced, and it's very hot and kind of dangerous if you hit something or fall on something. You got a bunch of electric wires.
We were lucky because most of their work was done on stage or at night, so we were able to kind of chill them out, and make little chill tents for them. But still, was never. They just relentlessly told me that I should have put air conditioning in the.
It's not easy to do though. It was.
It isn't.
Yeah, we had the same problem on Freaked with the eyeballs. It was very hard to make them comfortable.
Dinner's over, Worm Dude.
Yeah. I have to admit, because Station is so beloved, and there's like a band called Station, and Station is all over pop culture, and I don't ever, as an actor, especially with writers as genuinely great as Chris and Ed, put my foot down about things in a script, but I fought them so hard on Station. Do you remember this? I don't know.
Yes.
I remember reading the script and going, guys, I love it. It's great. I'm super excited. Station isn't funny. The word station isn't funny. I know what I think you're trying to do. That the more you hear this word, it's going to become funny, but it isn't. It's just bad, and it's going to fall on its face. And they fought me on it really hard, and I relented. And people love Station. It's crazy to this day. People come
They
through
are
the street.
men of conviction.
Oh, here's the shot where I almost killed Tommy. Okay, so for this shot, Pete was so specific. He wanted me to patch out, and that shot right there. And he wanted a cloud of dust to fill the frame and overtake the frame.
And he had him driving, not a
And he
stunt
had me
guy,
driving, not a stunt
which
guy.
is kind of crazy.
And he wanted to do it in one shot, even though at the end of the day, of course, it ended up as like 9 cuts. So none of that was necessary. So I put the Station guys are in the back. Tony's one of them. I slammed the door. He told me, punch it, right? And the whole camera crew is there with a piece of plexi over the lens. He wanted the van to go right up in lens to peeling out and filling the frame with smoke. So I slam the doors closed, go up, get behind the wheel, punch it, and bolt. Disaster ensues. I hear like screaming. I look back, the entire crew, it's like in a World War II movie, is covered in like literally.
Yeah,
it's like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. The whole crew is covered in orange dust. So they look like they just like were in a lunar landscape, except for whoever was operating the camera gets up and he's got a ring like Pete the dog where his one eye is visible where it was covering the camera. But poor Tony had been thrown to the back of the van and injured because he had all the servo units. And
the heads were just so heavy.
Yeah, I felt so absolutely horrible. And then, of course, it was, it didn't end up being one shot. It ended up being like 9 shots, and it was completely unnecessary.
And it took a huge amount of energy. See how they're jogging along there? Those heads have to weigh, I don't know, 60 pounds?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like wearing a 60-pound hat.
Big night, babes.
No, we're not going. I think you guys should stop.
So at
right
some
there.
point, did some of the stations get replaced? I guess because there's really
It was a scheduling thing.
scheduling.
It wasn't that
Yeah.
it was.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember.
They were replaced with the original princesses from Bill and Ted 1.
Exactly.
To this day, we don't know why we did that, but someone was
because-
insistent.
if you notice, in the first time you see them in heaven, that one is significantly smaller than the
Right,
other,
right.
and now they look similar size.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Well, they also might have gotten rid because they had to work early on. With that, there was the shot of them at Vasquez Rocks. And then I think they may not have actually been ready
Right.
to work that day. They couldn't walk. And I can't remember whether we had to, because Tony got injured, we had to.
Replace him for that.
Yeah.
I don't think he got that injured. 'Cause
No,
I
I think
remember.
it's just-
I think he just got hurt, and
Yeah.
Arturo was there for a while. And
And Ed was there the whole time because I
Yeah.
remember distinctly my son at the time was very young. He was like about 3 years old. And seeing him walk on the set, he was being toured around all the sets by Ed Gale. It was
Yeah.
so awesome.
oh, that's great. There's Pete
That's
Hewitt,
Pete
our
Hewitt.
director, right there.
Smoking.
Yeah.
Another thing that they
in-
wanted us to cut out of the movie.
And the leather jacket that he
Yeah.
always wore, always.
why did they want you to cut that out?
Because he was smoking.
Even though he makes the joke about it's going to
Correct.
kill you.
Yeah.
Huh.
Initiate final plan now.
You got it, great.
Was Peter actually a smoker?
No.
No, he was not.
Well, you can see
No.
he's not actually a good smoker.
Was he not only not a smoker, but by the end of the movie, he was barely even conscious. It was such a grueling schedule.
We worked him hard.
I mean-
He's a great guy and very committed.
Well, it's partly his own doing. I mean, he had built this extremely elaborate and ambitious clockwork mechanism, and the shoot schedule, because we didn't have the budget for it, was challenging. And by the time we were doing the finale, I remember he looked like he hadn't slept in about 6 weeks.
Oh yeah, and then that was the easy part because the post was really so tough. And tough on you guys too, because you had to come back, and there was much transformation involved in that.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, that's true.
We only made it harder. That blob is very effective.
Yeah. I remember so well. It's just ingrained in my brain like a subconscious Pavlovian thing. But whoever's operating the servos on a creature will say his lines. So you always had like some effects guy standing behind the camera going, "And station." You remember that?
Uh-huh.
Every time you said a line. There you go. Those are similar to the suits we had in Freak that were just unbearably hot for everybody.
Yeah, and this guy was really tall.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I think he was like 6'5", and then he had the head, and the head was at least.
Yeah, though I think he was at least that. I don't know if it was the same guy we used for the monsters on Freak, but we had we had 7 foot guys, close to 7 foot guys on that, and big guys get really hot, so it makes it even harder to function in the suits.
It's a guy named Tom Allard was the big station.
Right. Oh, there you go. And then we had what was the name of the Electric Boogaloo rapper breakdancer guy we had play my evil robot?
Bugaloo Shrimp.
There you
Yeah.
And Pop and Taco.
go.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. And they were.
We were able to get people like that because they had seen the first movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Bugaloo Shrimp's real name's Michael Chambers. And
Right.
then Bruno Falcon is Pop and Taco from the Breakin' fame.
Yeah, those guys were great.
This is such a crazy idea.
Yeah.
I mean, in the script throws so many tough things to figure out how to visualize. In that sense, it was very kind of comic booky before the comic books were as popular as they
What
are
did
now in movies.
What did the evil robots do in the original ending? I don't remember. Like, where does it? Because this is right around where it segues off into what we reshot, isn't it?
No, I think the big change, there might have been some changes around here and Iranian. The big change was once we got into the concert.
stadium?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have really fuzzy memories. I mean, the primary change that I recall, because I remember shooting it, was the car chase between us and the Fears. With the Granny
Right.
had this wheelchair with like weaponry on it, and
Yeah, which we shot some of that in the parking lot at
Santa
Santa
Civic.
Monica Civic.
Yeah.
KDOX will ride for KJM Channel 12.
There's Chris and Ed.
Live from the Santa
And Crystal has that stupid smile.
And yeah, we have some good cameos coming up in the viewers.
tight until we find out who will
The UCLA crowd right here.
And then here comes Primus.
Primus,
Oh,
which
yeah.
this was so cool to have them as your warm-up band.
Yeah, it was great. I love Les Claypool.
Yeah.
Where the girls? Oh, they're hanging from the rafters. Yeah, we're gonna kill them at the finale.
Well, good luck.
Was there ever a version where Rufus had more to do in this than he does?
No.
Is there any reason for that other than just creative?
I think it's just creative. It was like they had to do it on their own. I don't think that, because
Right.
George was more than willing to, he loved doing this. He had such a good time.
Yeah.
And I think he got a lot of people, it opened.
Oh yeah, no, he told me that. Yeah,
Yeah.
he had a lot of fans that like younger fans that came over to his camp. But yeah, I've always wondered that. Pam is great. I love the whole bait and switch with her being Rufus, but it's I always wondered whether that was initially different. Yeah, this is the night that I remember shooting the bulk of the car chase sequence that ended up getting cut.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, some of that is in the Evan Dorkin Marvel comic.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
which is beautiful stuff.
Yeah, he's really
The
talented.
demented stuff of those creatures driving their various vehicles.
Yeah, and the Boom Studios one kind of gets into it too, as I
Yeah.
remember in the second edition. But because what I love about this in terms of like the Chris and Edness of it all is like we go to so much trouble to go to heaven, get stations, the stations co-join to become one. They become one. They go to a hardware store. They get all this stuff so we can build these guys, and all these guys do is knock my head off.
Right.
Like it's so much lead up for no payoff. And I love that. That's one of the things about their sense of humor that I love, like the dumb jokes in one that just in Bill and Ted 1 that just purposely don't go anywhere at all. It's just this is so much ado about nothing. Like all of the labor that goes into creating these guys, and these guys literally do almost nothing for all the labor and time of the movie that was spent basically making them.
Okay. You two dudes ready to take on those evil losses?
So are you familiar with their work as, Pop and Locker?
Yeah, well, I'd done a couple of Canon movies, and I remember Breakin' and Breakin' 2,
Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo, yeah, and we had made the Electric Boogaloo joke in the Idiot Box. And so, yeah, I certainly, knew they were part of kind of the urban hip-hop dance scene, rapper scene. But this is all reshoot stuff, wasn't it, Scott?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to rely on you for some of that. I can't remember. Like, it's
I
around
think
this point in the
this
movie that I can't
actually,
remember.
no, this part here was, the opening was not reshoot.
Right.
Hold it right there.
Now, reshoot.
Right.
We're wild stallions. Nah, dudes. We're wild.
Yeah, this stuff was fun to shoot.
Evil metal dickweed. Yeah. And we're fully gonna do it again.
I remember.
This is very fun, too.
Yeah, I remember we were shooting this reshoot stuff at Sony, on the lot at Sony. It was when Warren Beatty was shooting Bugsy. Do you
Right.
remember this?
Yeah, I do.
And we would be standing outside the stages with all of our really super weird looking extras. And his trailer to his stage was like right outside where all that stuff was. And he would sort of walk in and out of his stage in like his finely tailored suit and his sort of Bugsy thing, very serious, and look at us, kind of like Joss Ackland used to,
Yeah,
like,
with that.
who are these sniveling imbeciles.
We finally got Joss entertained because
He had fun with the ending. That I remember. I think we finally broke him. He was like
you
a
remember
horse.
the reason why, though, is Barry Thomas, to keep big crowds, he would have not good doubles. He would have pretty girls
Right.
as the doubles, which really picked up Joss's interest.
I see. Right. Yes. So I remember he was. By the end, I felt like we turned him a little bit.
Yeah,
seemed to
he had a good time. Plus, he had a lot to do here. And
Yeah.
he had physical stuff, which he liked doing.
Yeah, and the magical thinking stuff is always fun. It's
Right.
just so silly.
And again, it's interesting because it's a little bit the same problem as the first movie, is that we had kind of an underplayed ending and we needed an ending that had better payoffs.
Right. Yeah. Well, that was it. The heart of it, as I remember.
Right. This whole thing, yeah, because this wasn't in it,
Yeah.
the ending. It was, they succeeded and overcame the evil robots.
Yeah. Though it's funny that we made the same mistake twice, because in both instances, the rewrite is better.
Oh, yeah.
This is way better and way more entertaining and silly and absurd. The only thing I have to be honest with you, which was more of a budgetary issue than anything else, I do miss that we didn't get to overcome our fear. Like, that car chase scene was really hilarious. And
It was good.
It had, like, I remember as the granny, I had, like, one of those, it was like Mad Max. I had one of those, like, chain claw things, and I catch up to the van and, like, hurl a chain claw thing through and so that we're parallel, and the Easter Bunny jumps on the roof of the van and peels the roof back, and it was like a Mad Max ending with Bill and Ted, only with the Easter Bunny, Oates, and Granny.
Was that shot?
It was shot. We shot some
wow.
of it. We
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
shoot all of it, but we shot I had this turbo wheelchair.
You gotta
and,
check it out. The guy in the bathtub, not that guy. This was all added in too.
Right.
The whole idea that the whole world was watching.
Yes, I recall that now. Here's Billy Sadler and his whole family, right? There's Billy,
Billy
his wife
Sadler.
and daughter. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. That's Baxter. And
I think this is Pete Hewitt's agent. Justin Conley comes in the window, the guy with the big glasses.
that's funny.
No, there's someone here. And okay, so now this is Robbie Consing, who will be the featured guy in this shot, who was our storyboard artist. Where is he? There he is.
That's great.
He's a great storyboard artist.
And my ideas alone.
Yeah. Yeah, Joss is having fun by now.
You know, one of the things that we
Warm out.
did, and kind of the reason we ended up doing this, is that we packed so much additional stuff in this movie, visual stuff, double Bill and Ted's, robot Bill and Ted's, all of that. And we needed all of this kind of storytelling, satisfaction of Bill and Ted getting to be heroes.
Yeah.
And being active instead of just coming back and getting rid of the robots.
My friends, I too can play the time.
Yeah, it's super convoluted. It's,
Right.
Yeah.
I will go back and set up the scheme.
Yeah, my kids love this one. There's just so much stuff to look at in it.
No, and it has the big.
Only there's one thing you didn't think of. Yeah. Only the winners are gonna be able to.
Did you ever test the original ending? No, right?
No, we did.
Oh, you did.
Oh yeah.
Reset up the gun.
Didn't
I
work
so don't
well.
remember it.
Yeah, well, it might have been because
I don't remember it
we
ever being
didn't-
done.
No, we just I believe we kind of gave you guys the summary of
Right. But you never tested it with the car. I don't think the car chase was ever cut with eradicating our fears. Was it?
It was in the.
It was never cut together. It was
don't
never
think so.
completed.
I don't think it was
I don't remember shooting all of it.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things that we felt like we needed more pickups to do it, and we were
Right.
making a choice.
Right.
What
That's what I
was more
remember, too.
valuable to fix the ending or to do that?
Yeah.
Which would have been great and had great action pops, but this had.
No, I mean, I could see it not being necessary in terms of the pace up of the end of the third act.
Good job, Dad.
So I'd love to see some of that footage if it's ever findable.
Yeah, well, there are. I know that people are digging for it, looking
Yeah.
for it.
There's photographs of outtakes of that sequence. I've seen them online, but I've never seen any actual footage of that sequence. It was really fun. George. Completely unnecessary.
Just in time for your audition, William.
So, you are Mrs. Wardrow all alone?
Hey, would anyone else have let you in this contest?
No.
Now, amigos.
That was Mr. Chuck Denomalos, my old gym teacher.
What other, after this,
Sit up, champion.
this is what, 91?
One.
Now, gentlemen.
So,
And it was shot in the summer of 90.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, no, I mean, you know what? I think we might have shot it in 91. The
I think we
whole
did.
thing.
Yeah, I think we did.
Okay, you're going to see there's a guy in the bathtub who I believe is
Maybe we ought to get
Napoleon
good, Ted.
that we're going to cut to.
And whose idea was it to go for the ZZ Top look?
It was mine. I had
Yeah.
two requests. I wanted Angus Young's guitar and his ZZ Top beard. And
Months of intensive guitar
you know, the ZZ Top beard was primarily for comedy.
for that 2 week.
Yeah, I remember having a funny conversation with Billy Gibbons about that in Texas when I ran into him a little while after this. But I am a very, very big ZZ fan.
Yeah.
And I'm a very big AC/DC fan, so it was kind of a pan to two bands that I love. But and Keanu was kind of a Chris Cornell grunge vibe going on here.
Yeah.
With the weird motorcycle back plate as a front plate cod piece thing.
Right.
So, but yeah, I love the hair over the eyes thing. I thought that worked really well.
It did. Worked great.
But I do remember all of the Sturm and Drang around that, all the concern.
Station's most bodacious creations. The good robot assist.
And Vi did he do all the guitar
He
work on
did.
this? But he did, right? Yeah, he's so great.
And over here.
Funny, I told you I'm working on this Frank Zappa doc right now, and I've been down in Zappa's studio office a lot, and he has the Bill and Ted 2 cassette in his collection of cassettes. I'm sure that's because of Steve Vai's participation.
They're close.
Yeah, well, they did. I mean, Steve Vai started working for Frank when he was a teenager, so he really discovered him. But they've done great work together. They did, before he died, obviously. And the other question I have, though, I'm pretty sure that Billy wrote the Reaper rap, right? He wrote the "You May Be a King" or Little Street Sweeper line. I'm
Right.
pretty sure
He did.
which is now has like worldwide, like that's like you see that like on bumper stickers and stuff. It's crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen,
And that was Billy's ad lib.
we've been to the past. We've been to the future.
It's kind of a morbid story. Like you can cut it if you want to, but there was a semi-famous serial killer who was put to death I think in Texas, and that was his last words were
Oh.
Billy's line. You may be a king or a little street sweeper. They were like, "Do you have any last words?" And his last words was the Reaper rap.
Wow.
Yes, like, you know you've entered popular culture when. But yeah, there you have it.
All we can say is, let's rock! 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Is this going into the Kiss song, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't written, that's the funny thing
remake,
about
right?
it. The Kiss song is an end title track, and
Right.
all of those headlines that show up, it was really kind of a post-titles gag in a way.
Yeah.
It sort of gave us in a way, it sort of tells you, it wrote something into the story that we didn't really intend, in a sense, that we didn't intend to definitively say that these guys succeeded on that kind of level. But it was really fun for audiences. But our song is supposed to be this guitar solo. That's sort of the way it was always intended. So Cavalari's in the bathtub? I didn't know that.
I thought so. Hold on.
He's like splashing like he does in the...
Right.
I remember the guy. I just didn't realize that was Terry, I don't think. But I haven't seen this in a long time, this one. It was a kick-to-me kiss on this set. I was a huge childhood fan of theirs.
When did they come to set?
Around now. They came to visit us when we were on the Sony lot. So it was around when we were doing this stuff. It's the first big stadium rock show I ever saw. Quite good. I love that. So where's the bathtub?
I don't know.
That's it. There is no more shots. There was did we cut it?
We shot. I think we might have. We shot him.
I totally remember the shot. He's like splashing like crazy in the tub.
Who was it?
It was Terry from Bill and Ted 1, from Napoleon.
Oh, Napoleon. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Huh.
And what happened is everyone got all fired up after we did the screening of the new material. Mm-hmm. So they actually let us do this end title sequence.
Cool. Yeah, people love it. I mean, it really...
Yeah, but, you know, there's more to the story.
What is that? Oh, yeah. That we are not at liberty to discuss at this moment.
Exactly.
But
we had such a huge clearance thing.
Yeah.
Because we cleared all these. We did that. We had to clear everyone's voice from the movie so that we could do a song to put on the album that was really fun.
Neil Mackless, so great.
Yeah. Dave Newman.
We really, another really great group of people.
Today's gentleman, TQ.
Yeah.
TG.
There's Richard. I forgot about that headline. That's great.
And great.
Who wrote these? Because I know Chris and Ed didn't. Who wrote these headlines?
The title company.
Right. There's Erwin and Paul.
We had a full team.
There's my manager, Connie.
Steve Deutsch, who's the guy who originally brought in the script to Interscope.
That's great. Connie started managing me when I was 16. Still manages me 75 years later. It's crazy.
Did we do a separate photo shoot of you guys for these cover
I
things?
don't think so. Those are promo shots.
I think it was part of the promo shots for the
all
movie.
Of those, that's the poster. That's what. That's the poster that that Raul Vega shot for the second movie. So I think you just put them together. So you're right. You must have done this way later because that was for the poster. That we did that well after the movie was done.
No, and then they photoshopped it.
Yeah.
They didn't Photoshop it then. They composited it.
Well, that ends the story for now. So thanks, everybody.
The full-on first unit.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys will be back to
We
do
may be
another
back.
commentary.
We could. We have a few more things to say.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And but it was two very fun movies to make. And completely different on every different level that you can have, except for the fact that both of them were made at studios that then had to get remade, or re-released.
I know it's a studio breaker.
So, yeah, but two happy accidents, I would say. They weren't standard issue movies for their times, not for the studios, and not for sort of mainstream Hollywood. They were their own idiosyncratic thing. Which makes me happy.
Well, and they have this kind of absurdist point of view that has gotten more popular over the years.
Yeah.
So that more and more people kind of can appreciate the second level of humor.
Well, this was pre-Beetlejuice, pre-Tim Burton, pre-South Park. you know. So it was culture was heading in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah, you can hear it at the end. Get down with your bad self.
Yeah, this is the thing Steve
Yeah.
Vai put together with
Yeah.
all the
Steve
clips.
Vai put the music together, and then it's audio clips from the movie, done really musically in an incredibly clever way.
Stellar cast. I don't think I've ever looked at this.
Yeah, no, we got into that thing at the end of a movie when you only have one thing left to do,
Right,
So
you start
really
monkeying
just,
around with it.
Well, you just
Yeah.
overdo it.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like let's throw our body and soul into doing the end titles. Unfortunately, we were not prescient enough at the time to put in.
I don't even see Tony
outtakes.
Cox in the credits. I didn't see him in the credits. It was Gil and Arturo were credited as interesting. I wonder what that's about. But maybe I did hurt him. Maybe he only did one day.
He took his and then took his name off the movie.
Oh God! Now I feel horrible.
Yeah.
Now I have guilt. The bodacious video image effects. Yeah, we had a good gang. This was super early days for CG. Super early days. We worked with
many people who have gone on to
do incredible
many
stuff.
bigger and better things.
Yeah, all that amazing rotoscope work. So, and all the matte work. I mean, really beautiful.
Yeah, there's some great matte painting.
Beautiful
Richard
work. The
Years'
miniature
brother.
stuff. Fantastic.
Yeah, Stetson. Those guys do great stuff. That miniature of the hell head that ate the people, that was really good.
It's Kevin. Who else was on their crew? I wonder who else I know from. It was such a great group of people on that. That stuff is like all gone the way of CG.
There's your
now.
guy in Shrimp and Taco.
Yeah.
Robot choreography.
Yeah. All that animatronic stuff is so rare now. It's just usually done with all CG characters. Such an art form unto itself. Creating giant sculptural creatures and filling them with electronic gear.
And then puppeting the performances.
Yeah, incredible. I'm so glad I got to be around for a chunk of that. There's Tom Wally, the great Tom Wally. Fantastic. Yeah, this is a good gang. I forgot how many of these folks were on this thing. Randy Miller. Very cool. So that must have been Steve Salos on number one. Yeah, additional lyrics for the Rupert Williams title. There you go. Howie Gelb. I forgot he was our guitar coach. That's crazy. That's bananas that Howie Gelb was our guitar coach. I think I vaguely remember that now. Wow, how cool is that for the alt-rock fans out there who know who that is?
Always good to have a Megadeth song.
Yeah. I totally forgot he was on that. Yeah, it was a good soundtrack. There's a lot of good stuff on there. So, very cool. Vocals.
You got credited for vocals.
Yeah, I get 3 cents from ASCAP like every 6 years for that. It's very cool.
I think this
keeps my kid in bubblegum.
Yeah, exactly.
I think this ends our journey.
Yeah, I think
it's been triumphant.
It has indeed.
Most triumphant.
It has been a most triumphant journey. Well, thank you, Sean. You've been a lovely tour guide.
Yes.
Thanks for letting me participate in the magical journey.
So, film with Panavision cameras and lenses and shot on film. Those were the days. Special thanks to William Shatner. That's hysterical. Certainly have never seen that.
Yeah.
Great. All right, you guys.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us.
Great.
Hope you dug it. Hasta la vista.
See you later.